I just read an article in the newspaper today. Why can't we get away from the 80s? Let me answer that question in many simple. In the 80s, we teetered on the verge of nuclear annihilation, Russia and America. Therefore, since we had no promise of tomorrow, we lived each day to the fullest. Hey, kids, newsflash, it can end tomorrow. We got these Islamic jihadists that'll get busy living. Okay? Another thing, we had values back in the 80s. There were lines you didn't cross. These days, there is no love, it's only about sex. Nobody has any heart anymore these days. Nobody has any balls. They lost them at last night's booty call. That's all it's about these days, sex. I miss those shows like Family Ties, The Cosby Show, The Facts of Life. Where these shows had a moral to the story. They had values. These days it's all about sleeping around. I'm telling you, I'm sick and tired of having all the sex put in my face. I'm sick of it. Back in the 80s they masked it, so it meant something totally different to those of us who didn't want to hear it. The 80s. Our music had heart to it. These days it's all just about jungle beat and sex and booty call. Whereas back in the 80s they actually had substance and darn, what's that word I'm trying to think of? They actually talked about something. Man, wish you could go back to the 80s, and Ronald Reagan was president. He was a good president. You know, I'm going to try to run for president in 2012. Don't laugh too hard. My theme is going to be, when we vacate, this is democracy, right? That means ruled by the people. When we vacate our places of power, big government rushes in like the thunder. Nature abhors a vacuum. When we can't stop ourselves from stealing and killing one another, Big Brother and his police state do. When the French Revolution, when there was chaos, the people actually welcomed Napoleon because he brought a sense of order to them, and Napoleon was a dictator. Are you getting into this, or am I not speaking loud enough? We need to go back to the 80s. Well, but here's what we need to do. We need a decade so good that we'll forget about how great the 80s were and think about how good it is today. But is that going to happen? No. The longer I live, the more this world looks and smells like you-know-what heat. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of this. By the time things get better, I'll be an old man and it won't freaking matter. Bye-bye.